Welcome to this skill session. A skill session is our custom webinar format for our communities at Gerlent, German Talent, and Glolent, Global Talent. More info on gerlent.com and glolent.com. Enjoy.
Welcome to this new skill session, and thanks Ulrik for giving this skill session about Unity3D. Ulrik is a developer at Northplay, and I know Ulrik from my co-working space TLR in Malaga, and he will give a short introduction of Unity3D today, and introduce himself first, I guess. So thanks again for giving this skill session, and I'll let you take over now.
Yeah, no problem. As you said, my name is Ulrik, and I work as game developer for the company Northplay, which is based in Copenhagen. And we do mainly mobile games, but we're also starting to do desktop and console games. And we're pretty busy working on our newest entry, which is hopefully coming out next week. So we're like crazy busy this week. This screen is exactly from how I left it 10 minutes ago to go do this. I'm going to talk about Unity3D, which is the game engine we use to make all our games. We've been making games for the past 2.5 years, and they're all made in Unity, and it's the main tool we use. And it's like I'm the programmer on the team. Our team also consists of a 2D designer, 3D designer, and then we have the guy doing music and sound effects for our game. And we're all kind of sitting in Unity3D because it's kind of a do everything application that integrates a lot of different job roles. So I can just give an overview. It's mainly for making 3D games. That's why they call it Unity3D. It also supports 2D games. And it also supports things that aren't games, like you can do mobile applications in this. The good thing about Unity is that you can deploy to pretty much any platform that exists, be it iOS, Android, desktop, consoles, even like web applications you can do, web games, mostly WebGL. And for VR and AR and all these kinds of things, people are even making movies in Unity now, like 3D animated movies. Most of what's going on in Unity happens inside of this, which is the scene view, where you have these 3D scenes with all your 3D objects. And this is mostly the realm of the level designer, where you can just select objects. You have a list of all your objects in your scene over here, and you can move them around as you want, and scale them and rotate them. Shouldn't destroy this level now that our level designer has spent so long making it nice. And you have the view here where you can see how it looks like with the UI and on the final device, like screen proportions and things like that. And then this is right now it's in edit mode, which is where you set up everything. And when you press play, you go into play mode, and it would actually start your game directly in the editor. So I will just think for a while, and now we have the game running inside of the Unity editor. You can switch between different scenes, have some menus. And one of the cool things about Unity is that while the game is running, you can also switch to the scene view, and you can see the 3D world that is behind what you see on the screen. You can actually go in while the game is running and interact with things and move things around if you want. It's a static. Kind of because it's moving. But you can go in and you can just put on do not disturb. And you can go in and modify everything as the game is running, which is something that is very handy. And even like the UI for the game, you go in, you can see what's going on while the game is running. And you can, like, if I press something, sorry, this menu just came in the way. Like if I press something and press pause at any time, like I can freeze the game as it is, and I can go and inspect things. I can take this, and now here's the inspector for objects, so I can see like where it is on the screen and what's the state of it and so on. And it works in what's called a entity component system. So you have all these objects in the world here, and all the objects has components you put on, like you just make an object. By default, it only has a position, rotation, and scale. But then you can say, I want this to like render a 3D object. I want it to have this animation. I want it to play the sound effect, things like that. And that's kind of how you build up your scenes. You put all these things in, you attach components to them to do different things. And down here, you have your what's called your assets folder, which is where you collect all the assets for your game, like all the textures, the 3D models, the localization files, the scripts, and everything. By the way, you can write these components yourself with scripts. And Unity uses the language called C#, which is the Microsoft language. That is a very high-level language compared to other game engines, which typically use something more low-level. This is a language that is very easy to learn, very easy to use. So, and for the assets folder, this is also where kind of the whole team works, in that you just put in your raw assets, like your sound designers will put in uncompressed raw files, your designer can put in Photoshop files, your 3D artist can put Maya files or 3ds files directly into here, and Unity will take care of converting them to the right format so it works on all platforms. It will compress it so it doesn't take a ton of space, and this is a very cool feature. So that, like, it's not like in Photoshop when you have to put something on a web page, you have to export it for web so that like it compresses properly. Unity will take care of all these things, and you're choosing the correct audio compression based on what is best on the different platforms and so on. I can try to open one of our levels in the game here, so you can see we switch to another scene. Scenes also just live down here, so you can just like browse around the different levels of our game. And the scenes are also made with just like pretty much drag and dropping components in from the assets. We're making this airplane game. So here we have an airplane object, which is just an object that lives down in our assets folder. And we just drag it in and place it in the scene where we want it to go, which is very easy. And when we want to test the level, we just press play and the level plays. We can start dragging airplanes to their destination. I can't reach the. I have to be careful not to trigger this. Okay. So yeah, like the main purpose of Unity is to make 3D games, but as I said, it can also be used for other things, especially 2D games. Obviously, also works, but also just doing mobile applications is something you can do with Unity. It is something like people usually do it if they want to quickly deploy to different platforms, because Unity is very good at deploying to many platforms. So if you quickly want an app to be running on iOS and Android, you can do it in Unity. It is not I wouldn't highly recommend it because the app is not going to look native. One thing about the UI system in Unity is that it's very specialized for games, and games typically have like very heavily stylized UIs with like many custom animations and not a lot of default UI components. Where if you make an iPhone app, you want your app to have some default components that also exist in all the other apps. Where if you make a game, you want it to be more custom. You don't want to use like a standard button in your game. You want to have your designer make a cool button for your game. So you're not going to get the native feel of a native iOS app or Android app, but it is something you can do. Like I consulted on one app that was like not a game, but an actual app that was made in Unity. And the result is so. It works. It is definitely something you can do, but like the quality of the final product is not super great. And Unity's UI system is also generally pretty bare bones. Like it is made for customizing a lot of things yourself. It's not like super quick to set up. You can see the UI of our game with the different panels and things like that. And of course, Unity also has wait, I want to open the Unity has built-in support for making applications. Like you have the animator, where you can like chain together different animations, and you have this animation view where you can actually to create a new animation. But here you can actually use curves to say like change, like make an animation that changes these parameters over time. And like you have a whole like UI for creating animations like that and visualizing them inside of here. It's not something I'm not super familiar with this because I'm a programmer on the project and I like to create my animations in code. But this is a very popular way of like quickly getting animations, both into games, but also into like if you make a native app and you want like a transition from one screen to another, you can quickly create animations this way. And of course, one thing that is also very fun messing around with Unity is that has a very good physics engine built in. So it's very quick to like make a plane, put a collider on it, and then like when you make these default objects, they will like by default have physics enabled on them, and you just add a rigid body component to them, and then they will like act as physics objects, and you can like start throwing them around, and they will interact realistically with each other, as realistic as game physics now are. So that is definitely a feature of Unity that is like especially important in games, but can also be used for many other things. If you're making a native app, you can make like if you want a tombola for drawing random winners in a competition in an app. Things like that is very easy to do with Unity. And of course, when you've actually built your final product, as I said, you can deploy to pretty much all platforms you want. It has built-in support for the most common, like desktop standalone, iOS, Android, the major consoles, and you could just like press on any of them and you can switch to that platform and you just press a button to make a build. And it is pretty much easy as that. For iOS, it will generate an Xcode project that you can then build the app from. From Android, it builds the APK directly and you can upload it directly to Google Play. So yeah, that's a short presentation about Unity, and like I think we should open it up to questions if people to hear what people want to know about it.
All right, thanks. Yeah, really interesting. So let's start off the questions. Does anyone have, I mean, I have tons of questions, but does anyone else have questions for Ulrik?
I have one. The asset, like a plane, is it built in or do you have to model it first?
They have built in, like you can see on this menu, this is built in, they call it primitives. They have, so it includes like cubes, spheres, capsules, cylinders, all these basic shapes.
Okay.
You can just create right here and then like scale them as you want them. So they're built in. And they also have it used to be, oh yeah, another thing I didn't talk about is the asset store, which is like a place, which is like a marketplace for Unity where people sell models and textures and plugins to Unity, which is like very popular for like quickly putting together quick prototypes. Or if you need something like birds flying around in the background of your game, you can just like buy for $10 or something, you just buy a bird system and put it in and you don't have to think about it.
Oh, okay, cool. Thank you.
All right. Any other questions? So I will go ahead. What's the performance with the rigid body physics engine stuff? Because I remember I used to use Unity, and in 2010, actually, and that was really not performing well on iOS and Android, like mobile devices. How's the performance now? Can you like seamlessly export your game onto mobile nowadays, or is there still
quite a few things have happened since 2010? Both Unity has gotten a lot better, like especially in recent years, Unity has improved a lot, and also mobile devices have gotten a lot faster since 2010. So yes, physics is very performant. Like you can have a lot of physics objects in your scene interacting with each other, and it's going to work perfectly well on mobile. The only thing is like you can, like if you use this primitive, it by default has the box collider, and there's also like there's different types of colliders, like capsule colliders. If you use the mesh collider, which will make a mesh out of a 3D object, that is more expensive. So that is like if you use a lot of these, it can quickly slow down. But the default box colliders and sphere colliders, you can put in a lot of them before you start seeing any slowdown.
All right, interesting. Yeah, 80 years. I just realized it when I was saying it. A long time, especially in game development.
2010 was like 3 years ago.
Yeah, crazy. Chris from our chat, like he's in the call, he wrote me he doesn't have his mic doesn't work, but he has a question. How do you see Unity compared to the Unreal Engine?
Well, like those are kind of the big competitors right now in the accessible game engines. I think the major shift, the major traditional shift between Unity and Unreal is that Unity is more mobile focused and beginner friendly, while Unreal is more powerful and AAA focused. Like you see a lot of big studios like Square Enix using Unreal Engine for their big games, where Unity is mostly for indie games. So both because like Unreal, like you code it in C++, which is a more performant, more low-level language. It's also harder to learn, and by default comes with like a lot of post-processing on your game. So it's kind of geared towards bigger games, more complexly, more visually impressive games. And Unity really got its start with mobile games, and with it was good for indies because it was free to get started with. In the beginning, you had to pay upfront for Unreal Engine. Over the years, they are kind of nearing each other more. So Unreal is becoming easier to use and more affordable to use, and Unity is getting more pro features now with they're getting more high-end rendering with the HD render pipeline and things like that. So they are kind of nearing each other. But I would say still the big difference is Unity is easier to get started with, easier to make mobile games. Unreal is more difficult to get started with, better for bigger game projects.
All right.
I hope that answered the question.
Yes, he just wrote me. I think it does. Yeah, what I always wondered is back then I wrote a real-time strategy game, and it took me a long time to implement, but I wasn't very experienced also, so of course you have to take that into account. But if you would nowadays, like with your experience, create like a minimum viable product version of a game like Fortnite or Minecraft, like with minimum UI and minimum features, and with your team of 2-3 people, how long would it take for you to make such a game? I mean, how long does it take for you to do your current game in an MVP version?
Mm-hmm. That depends on if you want the first step in a project is making the prototype, and then from prototype to the final game. And getting the prototype up and running, that can go really fast. Especially we tend to make a lot of tools ourselves, but especially if you get a lot of things from the assets store, like you need online multiplayer. Okay, you can download their online multiplayer example game. They released it a few weeks ago, and an example project, which is a fully functioning first-person online multiplayer shooter. So you can actually take those projects and then modify them, and you can have a prototype of your game in a week.
Oh, that's pretty cool. So something like Counter-Strike, you could probably prototype in a week.
Yeah, you can just get their sample, and it's pretty much Counter-Strike in Unity editor already.
Oh, that's very nice.
For something more custom, like making a quick prototype is pretty fast. For this game we're working on right now, I spent maybe 2 or 3 weeks making the initial prototype of the game. And since then, we have been working for 3 or 4 months on it, and we are almost ready to release. But I would say that has been a very rapid development schedule. We're exhausted after this, especially the last weeks of development. We're going really fast because we want it out before Christmas. So if we had more time before Christmas, we would probably spend a month or 2 more on it before we released it. But now we just want it out. So from initial start to prototype, you can expect a few weeks, 2 to 4 weeks, and then from prototype to final game, I would say it's about half a year of development.
All right. Yeah, that's really fast.
I would also have one question, if possible.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
Do you have some experience with creating augmented reality?
Yes, we actually have released an augmented reality game on the App Store, which is called Conduct AR. As you can see a trailer of here, which because the first game we made was a train game for mobile, and then when Apple announced ARKit, we made this AR version of the game, and that is also made entirely in Unity. And Unity works really well for AR applications. You just install the Unity provided AR plugin, and you're pretty much ready to go with a scene that has tracking set up. You just start putting in 3D objects. You can have it on, like, virtually on your table in pretty much no time.
Ah, cool. So it's your experience was good with it, as I hear.
Yes, it was. And it also, you can deploy it. I haven't tried to deploy it to Android with the AR core, but it should work seamlessly with that also. And yes, it's very easy to get up and running.
Okay, cool.
Like, developing AR in general is another story. Like, it is very difficult to get right and to get the feel right, and it's much harder than doing a traditional game. But from the technical side of things, it is very easy to work with.
Ah, okay. Mm.
All right. Any other questions for Ulrik? Okay, then thanks again, Ulrik, for giving this presentation and giving an intro to Unity within your tight schedule. Good luck with your release, and I'll definitely download the game. Can you tell the audience the name of the game and when it will be available where?
Yes, the game is called Fly This, with the logo here.
All right.
And it's going to, we hopefully will have it out in 1 week on the App Store next Wednesday. And if not, then later in December.
All right. That's a really small credits screen. I remember seeing the credits for games like Zelda or
It starts rolling. That's more names.
No, that's amazing. I really appreciate what you guys are doing. Like, especially with a small team, I think it's a big challenge, and game development in general. So really, really great that you guys are doing this.
It's definitely difficult, and I'd say it takes a while to learn. There's so many different aspects of game development you have to know. So
yeah,
it's definitely a science.
Yeah, it's an art in itself. Like you have to combine all kinds of skills to get it right. Okay, then I'll wrap this up, and thank you guys for joining this session, and I'll upload this video later this week and notify you in the Slack channel. So this will not be a public video, but a private video on our YouTube channel. Okay. Have a good day, guys, and see you the next time.
Yeah, bye-bye.
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 Thank you. Bye.